Hello everyone. Hope you're all having a great summer. I've been I've been busy, and yes, unfortunately I wasn't able to get this video out this end of the month on Sunday. So it's coming out today, which will be Monday. But yeah, just to get the ball rolling here, I am currently digging out the bits and pieces from my old Skull Path set from Warhammer Fantasy. I want to get this box set completed and done, and I figured I'd start with the Night Goblins, as I kind of got them started, much like the Dwarves, but they still need work. And also, of course, having that 90 show in the background for noise was always great. The second season started. But enough of that. It's time to get the models out and make sure I have everything actually accounted for. I couldn't find my signs, and the other guy, he's in with the other dwarf somewhere. I gotta dig him out, but that's quite alright. Main focus is to get the forces done. And without further ado, we'll move on to the first batch of Night Goblins I gotta finish up. So, after test fitting a model to the new fancy Games Workshop handle holder I've had for a while now, it surprisingly holds the square bases pretty darn good. So, like I was starting before years ago, I'm just going to pretty much just do a primary base color on all the parts I'm doing, and then going over with a wash coat afterwards. But yeah, I had this like Blue Moon Goblin kind of theme idea, just something I came up with one day and just went with it. Because as cool as the box art is, I still like to go and do my own thing. And I encourage everyone to do the same thing as well. You know, just let your imagination flow. Find inspiration from something and just go with it. And of course, with there being, what was it, 20 per block that this box set came with, it's a lot of goblins to paint up. And if I make little mistakes on the way, that's alright. I do tighten them up as best I can. But yeah, this is the first set of 20. And with all their blue cloaks done, it's time to pick up the colors I'm doing for the other little bits. I forget to name the colors already, but I'm going like a brownish color for all their leathery bits with their pouches. Some I did the pouches brown, the ones I went back and did just like left them cold blue because I forgot their cloaks were part of that. And there's like a khaki color I'm using for their little handles, of course. And this took me a few coats because this is one of the colors in that set I bought that I guess sat a lot longer than the other colors, and I had to really mix it back up together to get to work and to flow properly. Once that's all done, we should have a bunch of polearm spears that look like this. Nice little bony, cocky kind of color. And of course, I'm going with gunmetal for all their spearheads and edge of their shields and behind the shields that do kind of stick out. It's a great color. I mean, I could do some highlighting later, but for what it's worth, it's just keep it simple and keep it going. Alrighty, so I've spent some time going in with some white scar from Games Workshop to paint up all the moons on their shields white. I tried not to go on too thick. I went a little too watery too, so I'm not going to go back and clean up all the excess white that kind of bled over onto the shields. But the nice thing is too is it kind of left some kind of fade and crevices in some areas the way the models were molded, so it looks kind of nice. Looks like they're banged up, and overall I am quite happy with the results. I really could use an even finer point brush. My good fine point brush is not the finest, especially with some of the little tips of the edge of the moon, so kind of going back and forth with the blue and then touching up with the white again and then the blue and then the white. It was a bit of a hassle and a bit of a slowdown, but in the end it did pay off. Yeah, it's gonna be so sweet when they're done and on the field of battle. At least I hope so. And moving along, it's time to give them some goblin green for their skin, because why not? It works great. Even though I had to reactivate my green. Like many of my Games Workshop paints, I gotta thank John over at Ninjon for the formula that he shared to everybody on how to fix these paints and other paints like it. Next up is to do the base. This is a dollar store cinnamon brown, I think it was. I find dollar store paints to be great for like doing bases and other scenery and whatnot. That doesn't require like super fancy paints. But yes, I have to mention that this stuff is pretty thick out of the bottle, and I do water it down. And the more you water it down, it does make it almost a little too thin, even though it's just a little bit. So I find it, if I put a big glob on, push it around, I can usually get the bases on these guys done in one coat. But sometimes I gotta go back and do a second or third layer along the edge of the bases. It's a bit of a nuisance, but it's worth it because it's only like $2 a bottle, probably $3 a bottle now. And here they all are, completely painted, looking sharp, but they do need some lovely grass texturing. Ah, much better. That is looking great. Now to do the other remaining 20 spearmen. Time to really punch it up a gear. And my bad, did I say 20 more Night Goblin spearmen? I meant archers. These little dudes are gonna rain terror. And here's how they look, completely painted up and washed. And I think a little bit of speed paint on the skull, because why not? Next up, I have all these Night Goblin Spider Riders. Now, younger me decided to glue them all down, and what a big mistake that was, that older me would say, because all their bases have these little built-in details that I'm gonna have trouble getting the paint up, but I'll get them figured out. At the same time, my original plan for these Goblin Spider Riders, I'm now going to do an experiment with them. And of course, the experiment worked out great, as we'll see here in a moment. Yes, sir, I went with 4 vibrant colors and mixed bashed the last 2. I'm going to go over with a white paint job now, leaving most of the vibrant colors in the little recesses, but I'm not going to be too perfect with the white. I want some of the white to bleed through the other colors, because when this wash goes on, I want to see what kind of effects I get out of it. Now, here they all are, painted up in white. I didn't go thick, I just did a nice little couple of very thin coats. I really wanted to see how this is going to work with the speed paints. And with the speed paint, I went with a really dark blue that I haven't used before. But at the same time, I got most of the goblins all painted up. As you can see, I reused the blue for their feathers and other little bits and pieces and the poles. You know, just to mix things up a little bit, make it look interesting. But I am liking how the spiders are turning out. And I can't wait to see how the speed paint works. And to my surprise, it worked a little too well. As we see here in this test model, it really darkened them up. Didn't quite match the handle of the spear, which is great, but at the same time, it's some of that pink showing through. There's a couple spots on not just one, but the others. I gotta go back and retouch up with this speed paint because my finger kind of reactivated as I spun them around to paint the bases and kind of made more show through when it rubbed off, so which is kind of sad. But hey, you know, things happen. We learn from our mistakes. And of course, here's the rest of them, all done up, along with the wash all over the golems themselves. I just love how this turned out. Just beautiful. And of course, here's the rest of the squad. Ta-da! All done. Again, I still have to go through and do a few little touch-ups, but beyond that, I'm very happy with the result. Now, as for the bases, this is unfortunately as far as I got, and we can see here on some of the limbs and their backs there's a bit more white showing through than there should be, but overall I'm quite happy, and sadly the rest of this will have to come in another video at some point. Anywho, y'all take care and keep safe, and we'll see what I got going on in August.